Good evening to everyone who's here in attendance and to all of those who may be watching us at home. Thank you very much for your participation this evening. My name is Tara Zeggers. I'm the Tuckahoe PTA president. It is my privilege and my honor to welcome you this evening to this 2019 Trustees Candidate Forum here in Tuckahoe. An evening like tonight highlights so many of the values that drive our democracy: public education, free speech, and the right to vote and choose your leadership. Thank you to the community and to the Tuckahoe PTA board who submitted so many thoughtful and insightful questions that we put together for you this evening, and to all of the candidates for agreeing to participate in this forum. Special thanks to Catherine Newman, who is our vice president of the Tuckahoe PTA, who was instrumental in helping us get this put together this evening, as well as to our communications team for getting the word out, and to our hospitalities committee who is outside and has some refreshments for you. And finally, thank you, John Hessel, for volunteering your time to us this evening. He is with the League of Women Voters for Westchester. The floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so this candidate forum features the candidates for the Tuckahoe Board of Education. There are 4 candidates running for 2 seats. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, followed by questions for the candidates, and then a 1-minute closing statement at the end. Candidates will be asked questions prepared by the PTA and solicited also from community members. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer each question. The order of the questions will alternate sequentially between the candidates. Candidate questions, you'll have 2 minutes to respond. After each candidate has answered the question, there will be an opportunity for each candidate to have a 30-second rebuttal in the same order the question was asked. The timekeeper will hold up a warning sign when there are 30 seconds of time remaining, and if it's a rebuttal, they'll hand up a warning sign for 15 seconds, and of course a stop sign. Questions from the community were solicited by the PTA in advance, and the questions have been reviewed and grouped and combined into categories in the interest of efficiency and to cover as many areas as possible in the time we have allotted. Now is the time to silence your cell phones. Mine's silenced already. Hold all applause, no applause during the forum. There'll be time after the forum to meet and chat with your candidates. Here are your 4 candidates: Therese Gardier, Donna Mar, Robert Cypher, and Laura Benke. Okay, so we're going to start with the opening statements, and we're going to go in the order that you're seated in. Are you ready, Therese?
I'm ready.
Okay, and we can begin. Go ahead.
Okay. Is the mic's on? Is this good? Okay. Hi. Thanks to everybody for coming to view the debate. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for everybody to make an informed decision when May 21st comes for us to vote. Personally, I'm running for the school board because I feel that I have a skill set that will be beneficial to our school. I am a Tuckahoe alumni, class of 1992, and I am a very strong believer in public education. I graduated from both SUNY Brockport and SUNY Stony Brook. I practice now as a nurse practitioner in pediatric urology. I've worked in pediatrics for 23 years. Currently, I'm on faculty at Yale. I have also had faculty affiliation with Columbia, so I feel that mentorship and passing on knowledge is crucial to success and growth. I also do a lot of work with staff development, team building, and leadership. And what I've learned in the places I've worked, both in private practice and in academic medicine, that having good leadership, strong leadership, having innovative thinkers is crucial to any success or growth in a department. And though I am not an educator, I come from a family of educators. My sister has a PhD in literacy. My parents were both elementary and middle school teachers and went on to end their careers as the director of arts and culture education, director of technology. So education has always been common language in my household from the time I was in elementary school myself, sitting at my kitchen table. I'm done. Catherine.
Thanks, Therese. Okay, Donna, it's your turn now.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and for those of you who are taking the time to watch and participate that way. This, to me, is a great opportunity for you to meet us and to really make informed decisions so that you know who we are. My name is Donna Mar. I have been in the field of education for, I counted when I was getting ready for tonight, 27 years, which is hard for me to believe and say, but it's been 27 years. I started out as a special education teacher for severe emotionally disturbed children, working in New York City, and then was a school psychologist. I've been a building principal. I've been a CSE chairperson, a district administrator, and a director for special education and student support services, and an assistant superintendent for special education and student support services. In the districts for which I've worked, I've played numerous roles, and I've been blessed enough to have been participating in a lot of professional development, as well as leading a lot of professional development. I have worked as 504 compliance officer, Title IX compliance officer, and I have been very involved in school safety, student safety, crisis intervention, leading crisis teams and plans and planning for unfortunate events that we would always hope would never have to happen, but need to have a plan in case they do. With that being said, I'm still in the field of education. I am a mentor for this National Association for School Psychologists. I work for a local school district still. I am part of the PTA, just finishing my term for student support, SEPTA, Special Education Teachers and Teachers Association. So I've always used my skills in order to help people and to advance. I think it's very important to do, and I would like to continue to do that in this role. I think it would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Robert, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all those of you who have taken the time out to come to the forum tonight. I certainly appreciate it. I know it's a very busy time. Thank you to the PTA and the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. And for those individuals who took the time out to write some questions and submit them, thank you for that as well. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robert Cypher. I am currently employed with a financial management wealth services firm in Purchase. I am the Chief Compliance Officer and VP of Business Operations up in Purchase. I'm currently a sitting member on the board, finishing my third year. I'm seeking re-election as board trustee because I would very much like to see through the many initiatives that I have been a part of since my time on the board. I feel my experiences and involvement in these initiatives since inception is invaluable. It is very exciting and extremely important time for the district with the capital project underway and the new 3-year strategic plan, which is in the developmental stages of action plans to achieve its 4 main goals. As a father of 3 Tuckahoe students, 2 high schoolers and 1 middle schooler, a property owner and a community member, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time on the board. It's tireless work, but quite rewarding when you can take a step back and see the wonderful achievements and growth of our children in the district over time. I think oftentimes we forget to do that. Got it. Quickly, I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. It's our 21st anniversary, so I think I owe her dinner tomorrow night. I've taken the responsibility of board member very seriously. It takes time to learn and understand the proper role of a school board member and the importance of that role in the district. Here in Tuckahoe, that importance is magnified. Many decisions rest in the hands of 5 board members. I hope my past experience and time served in this community to date has gained your trust, and with your votes, I will be able to continue to serve the community and our children toward a better Tuckahoe for the years to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Laura?
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for everyone coming out tonight. For those who do not know me, I'm Laura Banky. I have lived in Tuckahoe for 16 years. I have 3 children, all in the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Over the years of living in the district, I have volunteered in a variety of ways. I have served on the PTA Executive Committee. I have participated in focus groups in our original strategic plan by Dr. Wilson. I've done coaching, I've done mentoring. More recently, a parent member who is a parent who goes into IEP and 504 meetings and supports the family. In my personal life, I received my undergraduate from Cornell University. I then went on to study physical therapy with a specialty in pediatrics and development. After working for a couple of years, I opened up a practice in Manhattan, and I owned that practice. I grew it to 13 locations and owned it for 15 years. As an owner, and growing from a clinician to someone who ran a business, I learned very key things about how to run a successful business. Those are HR, recruitment, billing, compliance, policy, writing manuals, making sure all the financial numbers are in order, budgets. Running a company, you learn that the things that make a company run well and run successfully, not unlike a school, is that you learn to collaborate, you learn to motivate, you recruit the best people, and you retain them. You learn that the most important thing to success is leadership. So why do I want to become a trustee? Tuckahoe is a very special place. It's unique. We have great families. We have dedicated teachers. We have caring, motivated, and a wonderful support staff. We have students that work hard and they care for one another. I believe Tuckahoe is good, but I know we can do better. We deserve more. We should be better than 20 out of 50 when looked at the Westchester schools. I am running for the board because I want to offer my experience and my commitment. If given the privilege, I will do everything I can to achieve those goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we have our first question, and we're going to start with you, Donna.
Okay.
Please list the top 2 to 3 issues that concern you about the Tuckahoe school community and your plans to address them.
All right. Can I just ask you to repeat that one more time?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Please list the top 2 to 3 issues that concern you about the Tuckahoe school community and your plans to address them.
So I try to look at that from a really global perspective, not just from my perspective as a parent or as a PTA member who's been working mainly with parents of special education students for the last couple of years. And I know that there have been concerns about student safety and safety plans in regards to what are we doing and how are procedures being implemented while we're waiting for vestibules to be built. I know that there are questions that people have been discussing about class size at the elementary school level. So I mentioned those 2 specifically because they're ones that the community has brought to me. And one that I'd add on my own is a concern about some secondary education goals, such as our dropout rate or graduation rate, which is an area that I think with the resources that we have, we can certainly do better. And we can offer our students more at the high school and secondary level overall. So my plan to address them, I mean, I think first would be to look at, I think that our current board has really already begun a lot of that with their planning and their goals. They have an action plan. They are addressing some of it. They are building the vestibule. They do have a safety plan in place, some of which those details I know were not discussed with the public, but it was done in depth. So it would be looking at what has been done and beginning with the conversations and continuing from where their work has finished, I think is what I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Robert, are you ready?
Yes. So I think, you know, if I had to as well paint, I guess from a high level, I think one of the main things I struggle with as a board member and as a community member is the community decisiveness we have. We're a divided community, and I think, but it's odd but our goals are aligned, right? We all want it to be better for our students. We all want a better community. We all want a better school. But instead of kind of coming together and working together to reach goals and move forward, we tend to get caught up in some of the scuttlebutt that's out there. And I think the current board's tried to address that by being a little more active on social media. I think we can continue to do a better job of that with more public discussion and more community involvement. Another issue I think we have, which is a blessing, and that sometimes it makes it difficult for us, is the size. I think that's something that we're always up against. So it's beautiful, and it has a lot of benefits being a small district, but it also limits our ability to accomplish some things and have certain programs. Our population is smaller, so that limits us in what we can offer as well. So I think continually trying to push forward. I think our new strategic plan is addressing those concerns about size by creating new curriculum, new plans, new ideas, professional development, to make sure we're teaching all of our students, our diverse learners. So I think we have some good ideas in place that are already moving along, but we definitely have work to do. And I think for certain we must communicate with the community in order to overcome one of our main difficulties, which is that decisiveness that we have.
Okay, thank you very much. You ready, Laura? Go ahead.
Yeah, so first thing I would say is this community is full of amazing families, as I said in my opening. We have so many smart and intelligent and engaged and involved families, and while they're not always present in meetings, and they're not always, able to show up, as I'm doing my walking tour going through this, everybody has such insightful and wonderful feedback, just as a way to move the school forward. And I think there's a little bit of a gap, if you will, or sort of a disconnect maybe from the residents who have all those voices to what we see at the school. So my concern is more about how do we close that? How do we make that our school reflects who we see every day? These people that have voices, they have questions, and perhaps they don't have ways of getting them out there, or they don't feel like maybe they're heard enough. I would also say that the outreach, the thing that concerns me a little bit is the district and their ability to up the ante with outreach and communicating to our community, getting out there through video, through interacting, through showing up to different activities to show that Tuckahoe is a leader. Tuckahoe is this school district that we are all very proud of, and that we come together as a community in that district. And the last thing that I would say is, I do, sort of understand where Rob's going. It is a challenge when we have a small community, but I would argue that therefore we should be able to achieve these goals, and we should be able to rise to every occasion as a small community. Again, going back to the concern, that would be bridging that divide sometimes that I hear that's between the community and our school district.
Okay, thank you very much. Therese?
Yes. So just to echo a couple of the things that have already been set up here, I think we have an awesome community. It's the reason why I came back here. I was living in Connecticut, and I can say that one thing that always really strikes me is people who you may not even know very well, when you're in a time of need, will come to your door and be truly a good neighbor. And I think there's way more good and positive things in Tuckahoe, the school system, which is the heart of the community, and the community at large. And I think we can do a better job showcasing that and bringing out the best in everybody. My top concerns would be, of course, security. I'm sure everybody's aware there was another school shooting this week in Colorado. I think that security and guarded vestibules and police presence is hugely important, but I think that we also need to really look at our mental health programs for our children, for the staff, how we support them, and have that be a constant focus of our day-to-day curriculum in the school. Because if you look at all of the shootings from Columbine to Sandy Hook to Parkland and now again to Denver, the people who did the shootings were students of the school. Whether they had been in the school, and back, but they were students, so they could potentially get in and pass security. The other thing, obviously, about communication and transparency, I think is very important, but I also just want to briefly talk about special ed, and that I think there are things we can do at the very ground level in K through 2 to kind of screen kids better and support them in school in the early years so that their foundation could be a bit stronger and maybe somebody can help them succeed.
Okay, thank you. You all have an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal if you'd like it. Donna, are you interested? Robert?
Yeah, I just as a sitting board member, just to kind of bring to light some of the things that have been implemented. Some of those things are on the table and they're being worked on, but they may not be quite in place. But from a safety perspective, it's something that obviously we take extremely seriously. We have a parent committee who's been involved there, but we have a consultant that got involved with creating a district safety plan. We have changes to our capital project to improve our safety. And then on the social emotional learning side of things that Therese mentioned, that is part of our strategic plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Laura, would you like 30 seconds? Yeah. Okay, and Therese? Would you like 30 seconds for a rebuttal?
A rebuttal?
Yeah.
To what?
To what you have 30 seconds if you'd like it. You don't have to take it if you don't want to.
I mean,
Okay.
No, I don't think there's anything more to rebut, just that I think that we are doing good things and there's more that we can do.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay, so now this is the second question. We're going to start with you, Robert. Okay, are you ready? With regard to special education, do you have any specific ideas for changes, including programming, staffing, and philosophy?
Specific ideas as to what I would see.
So here's the question I have. With regard to special education, do you have any specific ideas for any changes, including in programming, in staffing, or in, I would say, in the district philosophy?
Philosophy?
Okay.
Is that
Philosophy.
right? Okay.
Philosophy.
So I think we have an obligation to always make sure we're helping all the children, whether they're special ed, gen ed, and our very, our strong students. So in regards to special ed, I think that's something that we've certainly recognized. We have a new director of special education. This is his first year. He has come up with some great ideas. He showed some strong initiative already of things that he would like to put in place. I think as well as that, our strategic plan talks about the social emotional learning curriculum that we want to put in place, and we're talking about the Ruler program, which is a Yale University program that is evidence-based, that is currently being taught professional development with our teachers already. So I think that program, which is nationally tested and has evidence behind it, is certainly going to help with our special ed program. I think we have provided the right resources to help create more space for those special ed classes. I think that's something that is top of mind, and we will always continue to work toward improving. I think the staffing currently, we have 3 psychologists on staff. We have 3 guidance counselors. Currently in the budget that's up for vote, we have a position for either another guidance counselor or social worker. So I think when you look at our ratio of 1,150 students to 7 or 8 trained professionals, I think that'll help us as well with that program.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
Yes. So special ed, as far as the program, the staff, and the philosophy, one of the first things that I want to talk about is in special ed and how it works, and that's one of the things that as a parent member I go in and explain to parents. But we do have programs at the school, response to intervention, for example. So if a child comes to the school and they will get screened if the parent raises concern or the teacher, and they are screened here, and then they go on to receive that intervention. What I see lacking and what I would work towards is that we screen children earlier. We don't go with the fail and then intervene, which unfortunately happens a lot. They would be screened K through 2, and they would be screened with an evidence-based, very accurate screening that is specific and allows the staff to then go in with a program. And by that I mean something that goes K through 12, and that is a literacy intervention program, such as the ones that are out there that other schools use. Maybe it's Wilson, maybe it's Orton Gillingham, but it's something very specific, or whatever that child may need. It may be neither of those, but they are specific to that child's needs. And that program carries over K through 12. And by that I mean that we don't leave that child to get into middle school and have no program, or get into high school and have no support. So that would be a recommendation. The philosophy needs to be K through 12. I think we spend a lot of time talking about initial response to intervention, and then once the child sort of gets these things in place, once they get to middle school, there doesn't seem to be a carryover. There's a disconnect between the elementary, the middle, and the high. So I would work to make that a fluid program, evidence-based, something that's direct and explicit and is in the literature, proven to work, so that we don't spend time implementing something that doesn't have the results that we need. I think it's very important. Studies show that if you remediate a child before the age of 9, you can, or if you intervene, you can remediate and you can potentially avoid special ed.
Thank you very much. Okay. Therese?
Yes. So in regards to special ed, I think that we've done a lot, and I think that obviously we have developed the program. We are now accepting children who have significant needs and providing them support, which is a wonderful thing. I think that what would be even better is for us to focus on kind of that 80% of kids that isn't the top 10% and isn't the bottom 10%. Maybe they don't qualify for an IEP because they aren't scoring below the 27th percentile, but they're struggling learners. And I think that there are things we can do that are simple screenings to flag these kids and then make meaningful intervention at an early age that will change the course of their academic career, that will change their self-esteem and the image of who they are and what they can be. And I think that that's hugely important. I do also have extensive experience in dealing with special needs population, and I think that for us to provide children who have significant special needs what they truly need, I'm not sure we have the ability right now to do that with the proper adaptive equipment. And even though we are doing a capital project and adding space, I think we need to really critically look at what we're doing and where we want our future to be. Also with the special ed staffing, it gets expensive, and I'd like to look more into what does this mean for the district long term in regards to pensions and health care, and how we're going to carry this additional staff in not just the next 5 years, but in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and beyond that.
Okay, thank you very much. Are you ready, Donna?
I am.
Go ahead. You've got 2 minutes.
In regards to special education,
Yes.
I think one of
Same
the
question, yes.
Same question, yes. Okay. One of the first things I would like to say is, I always think that screening early is important, and using effective screening tools is important. I think that we do that. I'm not sure exactly what the kindergarten screening is here, but I know that procedures are in place in order to be able to do that, depending on when someone starts in the school district, so I'd have to check. One of the things that I think people miss very often when they're looking at special education is the professional development and supports that really need to be provided for general education teachers. The whole concept behind Part 200 and federal regulations is really about teaching children in the least restrictive environment, which would require everyone prior to someone being referred to special education who has contact with the student having as much skills and ability to be able to feel confident in their ability in working with a diverse student population, right? So we often look at how we can train our special education staff in order to do that better in a special education classroom, and yes, that's important. Special education teachers get special training on how to do special education, often very well. General education teachers often don't. In my previous school district, we would at least once a year flip it, and I would do all the training for the general education teachers, and they would do the training for the special education teachers, so that there was a sharing of skills. And that really helped to expand skills. It also decreased referrals to special education because we were able to build competency across the board. So that's just another whole different perspective and how to look at certain things. Having a continuum of services that goes K through 12 would be something that I would highly suggest that the district look at. It's hard to go from an elementary school to a middle school and then have a completely different type of service or program. So, you know, continuity of services is definitely something that's important to all kids.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to add, they have 30 seconds to add something to their answers or to rebut something that was said? Robert?
No, sir.
Laura?
I would just add that, the school has more recently updated the response intervention. I know that Dr. McDonald has been working towards that. At this point, we do a lot of talking about, and we present data, and we discuss, who's in what group and all that, but we really do need to put these ideas into real practical use.
Okay, thank you. Therese, would you like to add something?
I just want to also say about the importance of professional development. I think is a very important point that Donna brought up, and that we should constantly be providing professional development to promote innovation and different learning strategies, and especially when you have classrooms that are filled with all types of learners, whether they are or are not classified, because they all come to the table with a variety of different needs.
Okay, and Donna, you have 30 seconds if you'd like it.
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next question. This one's going to start with you, Laura. Describe how your demeanor and leadership skills are suited to creating a positive working environment for all Tuckahoe District stakeholders and supports and encourages collaborations for all of those stakeholders.
Can you say that one more time?
Sure. Ready?
I'm ready.
Describe how your demeanor and leadership skills are suited to creating a positive working environment for all Tuckahoe District stakeholders and supports and encourages collaboration for all of those stakeholders.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, as far as leadership, collaboration, and for all the stakeholders, running a company for 15 years with over 90 employees, and having that ability to bring people together, to collaborate with them. I had a staff that started with me, for example, at the beginning, and when we had our merger and sold off the company, they were with me till the end. So I think it's important to learn how to build people up. I think you reach out and you work together in a collaborative way that is looking in a forward direction all the time, looking for what can we do better, and rewarding people. Having a lot of ability to recognize that when you have talent and to build it up. I think sometimes when people are feeling like they're not valued or they're not given certain support, they tend to not feel like they want to be part of the team. So as far as demeanor, people obviously that worked for me and people that know me, I have that demeanor that does bring people together. I do like to engage. I like to have conversations and see all points of view, and make sure that everybody who's on the team and everybody who has a voice gets that voice recognized. And I think that was what I would bring to the table.
Okay, thank you very much. Therese?
Okay. So as far as my demeanor, I am a very positive person, and I am a fighter, both personally, professionally, and I think that one thing I fight for is what I know is right and what I believe in strongly. And I'm not out for myself. I'm really for the greater good. And even when things don't directly affect me, I will still advocate for my staff because I think it's important and it's the right thing to do. I said that I have been a nurse practitioner for 19 years. I've been in pediatrics for 23. I was in a private practice for 17 years, and I just came to Yale. I was recognized last year for outstanding leadership, chosen out of a group of 350 advanced practice practitioners, and I now co-direct courses for the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I have a whole other bunch of things on my resume, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I get a weekly text from my staff asking to join me. And my nurse and other people I've worked with for a decade have followed me because they know I give good care, I care about children, and I do the right thing. And I think that that is the greatest compliment anyone could ever be paid. And I want to bring that to the Board of Education because I think that leadership and morale is incredibly important, and that everything starts at the top. And just like the flu or measles or anything is contagious, positivity is contagious, strong leadership is contagious, and being able to take a chance to do something and make something better, even if it's different, is also contagious, and then people will do it. And they'll love coming to work, and when they love coming to work, they do their best job every day.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Okay. I think I would start by saying that, so I apologize. Let me start that again.
Sure, go ahead.
I obtained my doctorate in education, leadership, and policy. With that, one of the things I decided to become an expert in is negotiations, communications, and I've decided and learned just naturally, which I think sort of isn't really something you could teach, relationships, becoming a master at building relationships. So what I've learned over time is that building relationships is really the greatest part out of making anything successful. And when I look back at the people who include me on their teams over and over and over again, what they often say is, when we first brought you here, we brought you here to mend a fence, and now the fences are doing so well, and everyone would like to still include you, because there were people who would not be speaking who are now speaking, and were able to come to terms and have civil conversations at a table. Because we all do have some of the same very important interests, our children, our community. We have some really important things that are in common, and those are the things that we can stay focused on. So it's working through the conversations, and it's building the relationships. That's okay. I have the ability to make people feel valued and know that they're being heard, as well as to represent their point of view, even if it's not necessarily my point of view. So I know that there's times that I even, in this conversation tonight, have mentioned that there are concerns. I didn't note that they are my concerns necessarily, but I know that they're community concerns, because it's our job to represent community concerns. I think that's important. In everything I've ever led, I have been very successful at. So I have my own publishing company that's been successful. I've been an author. I have 4 top best-selling books. I've done everything. I've done coaching and training all over the world on how to build your own business, how to create beyond what you've already created for yourself. So those are things that I've been practicing and been very successful at for the last 20 years, and I would like to do that here in this community where I'm currently vested and would like to spend my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Robert?
Yeah, so I think anyone who knows me, they know that I've been involved in many of the different events throughout the community, whether it's the youth activities, school board, after-school task program, the CYO program, the strategic planning committee. I mean, so I think my involvement is because of my reputation, and people appreciate what I bring to the table. I think I definitely have the ability to get people to come to compromise. I'm able to bring people together toward work toward a common goal. And I think, as has been mentioned by my fellow board members here, or potential board members, you have to be able to work with people, even if it's not your opinion, to have compromise. It's fine, and I'm certainly very passionate about a lot of things I believe in, but you have to be able to work toward compromise in order to move forward. As a board member, I think that responsibility is magnified exponentially here. There's a small group of people who make many of the decisions, but we have to represent all the people in the community and all the constituents, not just parents, community members, and I think that taxpayers, it's very important to be able to put your own personal opinions aside to try and reach compromise for the common good of all the constituents. I think my track record for the things that I've been involved in speak to that. Professionally, I think my career also shows that. I've been at 3 or 4 companies, and each one I've taken a position of where I'm overseeing 30 to 50 to 60 people, and I think getting buy-in, making people feel like they're part of something, is something you have to do, and that's a trait I think that I'm very strong with. As far as my demeanor goes, I'm passionate, and sometimes that probably gets the better of me, but I'm passionate for the betterment of all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Would anybody like 30 seconds to add something? Laura? No. Therese? Donna?
No, thank you.
Okay, and Robert. Okay, then we'll go to our next question. Oh, and this is going to start with you, Trace.
Oh, okay.
Board members have a specific role. How do you define that role and its Board members have a specific role. How do you define that role and its relationship to the roles of others, specifically the superintendent and building level administrators?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The role of the Board of Education is to create policy and to make sure that that policy is being carried out in a fair and ethical fashion. I think that that is first and foremost. And as far as the relationship with the superintendent, obviously the Board of Education is the leadership of the superintendent and should be making sure that the superintendent is doing his or her job in their leadership role, again, carrying out policy in a fair and ethical way. As far as the role with the other administrators in building level, it's my understanding and the way I think that it should be done, the superintendent is the person who should be supervising the building level principals and administrative staff, and only if there were a major problem with, again, ethics or something that was considered serious enough to be brought to the level of the Board of Education, should the Board of Education be engaged and involved in any kind of day-to-day activities of the building level principals and administrative staff. I think I answered all of it.
Okay.
Did I?
That's fine.
I hope I did.
I can't say.
Okay.
Okay.
According to my notes here, I did.
There you go. Donna, go ahead.
Is it terrible if I ask you to just repeat the question one
No,
more time?
not at all. Board members have a specific role. How do you define that role and its relationship to the role of others, specifically the superintendent and the building level administrators?
Okay, thank you. I have one of those memories, like once you've read something, it stays there forever and ever, so I'm very lucky that way. So the National Boards Association actually would define that role very specifically, and I think one of the things they also note is that sometimes when superintendents and boards have a disagreement or aren't getting along, it's because they aren't really looking at that. So when you look at what they're really supposed to do, it's to work with the community and really focus on student achievement, and that's really where their focus is supposed to be. And they do that by hiring and evaluating the superintendent and making sure the goals for the superintendent are very clear. They also develop and adopt policies, approve contracts, oversee facilities issues, adopt recommendations that the superintendent does make, so they're supporting the school in that way, but it's not necessarily their job to do that directly. I want to add to what Therese said before, which is, there are sometimes concerns that come that are related to possibly a moral or ethical situation that are brought to the board, and board members, I do believe, have an obligation to take a look or ask questions in regards to those things. They are there to represent the community, but that's a very specific process that usually school districts have set up, so there's a process to follow in order to go through something along those lines. With that being said, I think that answers the question. I'm not really sure. So it was to develop and adopt policies, to oversee facilities issues, to adopt collective bargaining agreements, to employ the superintendent, to evaluate the superintendent, and to really work with the community to make sure that they're focusing on student achievement.
Okay, thank you very much. Robert.
Yes, so I think the ladies did a decent job of kind of defining what the role of the board member is. The couple of things I would add is the budget process, and working with the superintendent and the director of finance to put our budget together. I think that's a very, very important piece of one of our responsibilities. It's very involved, and there's a lot of different components that make up the budget. So that's a very important one. It's a little different. It's a little different today with the tax cap being set at 2%, but certainly something that there's many hard decisions that you have to make based on that. The other is the financial, the building and operations of the building. So in regards to the capital project, the board had an active role in the facilities management and working on putting that proposal together for the capital project. I think certainly evaluating the superintendent, very important. Actually working on policy, extremely important. There's hundreds of policies that need to be looked at on a regular basis and amended when appropriate. There's governance, representation of the community member we have when we walk in that room or when we have these public forums. We're speaking on behalf of the community members. So asking questions in public, having public discussion is a role of the board member. In regards to the building administrators and what our role is there, I think what's important is that we ask the right questions, we support them when they have new initiatives, and just make sure that we have a good ear to the ground of what's going on in the community and making the leaders and the administrators aware of some of the issues that may need to be addressed or taken care of.
Okay, thank you very much. Laura, to you.
I think everybody here obviously listed the 4 criteria, and if you look it up, you can read it as far as what a board, their responsibilities are. They oversee the superintendent, they evaluate that person. Policy is very important, and they review and revise, edit, add new ones if necessary. They do negotiations with the contracts and facilities. So those are pretty straightforward, basic listed policies. One thing I would say, that those are the specifics, and when you talk about the relationship, I think as a board member, as one person, if I was to serve on the board, you're one person. It really is a team, and it is important, I think, to be a and we talked about collaboration before. I mean, it's very important to be come to the table as a very unified and a very cohesive group that has a very common goal in mind, and that is for the students. And so I would say that those are specific things, and then I think just as a whole, obviously when you're working budgets and you're working on bonds, it's all hard work, and there's many things to do, but I think that the responsibility as far as the coming out and presenting yourself to the district and to the public, it's important that it's a team approach.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to add anything? 30 seconds to anybody? Starting with you, Therese?
No, thank you.
Okay, Donna? Robert? No. Okay, Laura. Okay, that's great. This is the 5th question. I want to start with you, Donna.
Okay.
How do you plan to ensure that teachers and administrators work together, teachers are valued, and morale is lifted, so that teachers are a part of all activities within the district, in and out of the classrooms?
I apologize because I ask you to do this all the time.
That's okay. You ready? I'll read it again for everyone. How do you plan to ensure that teachers and administrators work together, teachers are valued, and morale is lifted, so that teachers are a part of all activities within the district, in and out of the classrooms?
All activities in the, okay. That's a really good question, especially right after we just talked about the role of the board members, right? So I think that one of the key ways to do that is to really integrate some of that into how we evaluate the superintendent, right? So that would be part of that role, because he does supervise the administrators who supervise the teachers. So that would have to be part of that conversation. In my experience in schools, board members have been involved, and they are at events, just like PTA is very often involved in at events and have conversations, acknowledging people publicly or personally, both very often, for the things that you have seen firsthand is also a real easy thing to do, and very, very important in my experience. Something that simple makes a tremendous difference in somebody's day. As far as the direct influence over it, the only thing that I could think of aside from the superintendent's evaluation, unless I'm not thinking far enough out of my range, is exactly how you are when you're in public and you're walking through the schools, and what you are acknowledging and what you are speaking about, and how you're representing each of their voices when you're having conversations and communications.
Okay, thank you. Robert, are you ready?
Just can you, one more time, just read it. Do you want to make sure I
Okay.
answer it appropriately?
It's a long question. How do you plan to ensure that teachers and administrators work together, teachers are valued, and morale is lifted, so that teachers are a part of all activities within the district, in and out of the classrooms?
Got it. Thank you. So I think one of the things that would certainly help that situation if we had a little more stability. I think this district has had a lot of turnover in recent years. When you look at the administrative position, superintendent position, building leaders, and I think that has created a challenge. I think when we've had interim principals on different buildings. I think that makes it difficult to have that consistency and continuity year over year. So to ensure some of that collaborativeness happens, I think that's a challenge. So I think right now we have a staff without interims. I think that's a great thing. It would be great if we can keep that together. I think that will help us ensure there would be more happening between our administrators and the staff. I think today, I think our staff does a good job. I think the teachers are involved. I think the teachers do attend a lot of the programs that we have. If you're at a lot of them, there's always a presence. Even when we travel, there's a presence of our teachers and our staff. I think what we could do within the community that I think we haven't done a good enough job of is recognizing our teachers or our staff when they do something that deserves that recognition. I think that would improve morale and maybe energize some people. I think with the current strategic plan and capital project, I think that will help with the teachers and the administrators because it will create new opportunities. So I think it's a combination of the makeup of our administrators and the staff right now. I think it is going to lead to certainly that getting better going forward. And then I'd like to see maybe some more recognition when things do go well.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
So the morale being part of this, the key part, I mean, I think to the question, and how do we address that, and how do we make administrators and teachers feel that they're part of the conversation, part of the community. One of the key things I think with this particular thing is the superintendent and the leaders of the school. They are really key in reaching out and being present, going around to the schools, being in the classrooms, communicating, and really getting out there to say that I am here with you. You know, I'm not sort of away in this building or in this room and I'm working on all these things, but that I'm very much involved in what's going on. I think that when teachers and administrators maybe come to the board and the superintendent and ask for things and request programs, I think the board has, and I think we would continue if I was on the board to give them those programs, to back them with the funding and whatever they need to feel that they are supported and they are given what they need. I think being a teacher in today's climate is hard. I think this administration is hard and the teachers, and I think that they need to feel that they have a support structure there. They have the leadership behind them. And I think that the board and the superintendent, perhaps maybe more so than the board, could showcase that more, could reach out and, you know, whether through social media, but showcase these teachers and show the community in the district all the wonderful things that they really are doing, and that should be appreciated for. So I think a big part of it really is, again, it goes back to that leadership that I spoke about, and that is just letting the teachers and letting the administrators know that they have their back and following through on things so that when they do ask for certain things or there are concerns or there are issues, that there's communication. I think communication is key for teachers and administrators. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Therese?
Yes. I actually feel like this is an area that we can definitely work on as a school district. And once I decided to throw my hat in for the Board of Education trustee position, I actually made a point to go around and speak to teachers and support staff, and just to have a conversation and see, like, what is your feeling? How do you view things, and what do you think could be better? And I found it very interesting. I also found that there was a common theme, and obviously communication and having conversation is important, but I also think that putting kind of your actions behind your words is even more important, and showing them that you're not just hearing what they say, but you're listening to what they say. You respect what they're saying, because they are on the front line. They are the people in the classroom every single day. And knowing that their job is probably one of the hardest jobs you could ever do or choose to do, and that there's no amount of money that would adequately compensate a good teacher. And I had the experience, I'll say, in my son's 5th grade last year of going in to teach a science class. I can tell you for certain it was the longest hour and a half of my life, and it gave me a whole different perspective. I see 25 kids every day at work. It is much different than being in a classroom with 25 children and trying to teach them about the respiratory system. And I have always had a lot of respect for teachers. I now have even more respect for teachers, and I realize that until you walk in somebody's shoes a mile, you really can't judge what they're doing or how they're doing it, and we need to respect that always.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Would anybody like to add anything to that?
I just want to...
Go ahead, Donna.
I think there's some piece of this that could be very simple, right? I hear teachers say, I know that they came and they heard what I had to say, but I don't think that they listened. Or I've also heard teachers or staff or community members say, they said that they would address this and it has not been followed through on. So follow through is also tremendous. So it's recognition, invitation, looking at communication when you're sending it out, and you know that we're always accidentally leaving somebody off as we're on our to-do list. We forgot to tell somebody and it was by accident, but those types of things have an impact on morale that we never expect. So
okay, thank you. Robert, would you like to say
just
something?
quickly to add, what I've seen in my 3 years as a board member is that there are some laws that come down from the state on how teachers are evaluated, and that throws a wrench into the morale and the feelings that some of the teachers have with the administrators. So my point is some of the items we have to deal with are regulated by the state, and unfortunately they do have an effect on some of the relationships that exist.
Okay, thank you. Laura? Okay, and Therese?
This is the rebuttal part.
Yeah, you have 30 seconds to say something.
I just had one other thing I wanted to add, and that was also, I think bringing in, when you do professional development, doing team building and having that be part of your professional development, and having the professional development be something that is obviously thoughtful and encompasses not just curriculum development, but developing the whole child, would be an important thing to do for our teachers as well.
Okay, thank you. Robert, we're going to start this one with you. This is question number 6. As you know, the district is about to embark on a capital improvement project. Do you believe that the project addresses all of the capital needs of the district? And if not, what is your position for ensuring additional funds for future projects?
Okay, so certainly I think this is a great first step in what needs to be done in our district. For those who've been involved from the beginning, initially we were considering a larger project, twice the size of this. And I think what happened was we recognized, based on a vote that occurred, that it was actually that proposal got voted down, that the community had spoken. And I think the responsibility as a board member was to recognize that the community wasn't ready for a project as ambitious as we had hoped for. I think there are certainly other things that would help the district in each building. I think this room here that we sit in, our parents visit this room more than any other room in the building, and it can certainly use an upgrade. But I don't think the community was ready for that. We have a blossoming strings program, an arts program. It would be great if we could do more in a better room that was situated better for that. I think there's improvements just in the cafeteria at some of the buildings. So there's certainly more that could be done, but I think what our responsibility is now is to deliver this first project on time, in line with what was presented to the community, and show that we could be trusted in delivering what we said we were going to deliver. And you know, what's important too, from a pocketbook standpoint, is right now the district has about $13 million in debt, and that will be gone in 10 years. And I think this project that we currently are beginning is basically debt neutral. As that debt comes on, we'll have debt coming off, so that will not cost the taxpayer any more additional funds. And I think if we do a good job, maybe we could put another project together down the road, if we can gain the community's trust to get that through, and certainly will help the students.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you to repeat the question.
Sure. As you know, the district is about to embark on a capital improvement project. Do you believe that the project addresses all of the capital needs of the district? And if not, what is your position for ensuring additional funds for future projects?
Okay, so first I just want to start with, I think, the board, and I'm grateful for the board for pushing and working hard to get the second vote to be a yes. I think that it's unfortunate that the Prop 1, Prop 2, that the way that it was rolled out a little bit was I think they, you know, just put too much out there. And obviously, as Rob mentioned, they did learn that the district as a whole and Tuckahoe community was not ready for that complex and that large of a bond. No, there's disagreements on whether they should just rolled out Prop 1. We would have gotten more, but you know what? They took their, I think in going through that, they did the right thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't address all the needs, and so we're going to have a nice floor. We're going to have a second story at Cottle. We're going to have a nice new field here, and we're going to have a Cottle field that's also worked on. But the middle school and the high school needs a lot of work. I mean, this auditorium, you know, you go to a concert and you can't sit, and the kids can't fit on the stage anymore, and we absolutely need to do more. To Rob's point, I do think that we have, now that we have passed a bond, as other schools do, and it's interesting just in my research and looking at other school districts, you know, every website, every district on the website talks about their bond. So it's something that is just, it's part of the process of being on a school district these days, and it's also part of what the Board of Ed does. But the bond that is now on the books and the debt that's on the books, I think we can just keep paying that down and then do another one, put one out there again, being that we've had the first one. You know, we hadn't had one in 10 years, I believe it was. And so now that we're used to that lingo, we're used to that conversation, I think that we absolutely need to do another one. And I think that once we present it as a tax neutral, perhaps, that not unlike Scarsdale and Bronxville that have also done that, I think our community will be on board with that. So I do think that we did not address all the needs, and I would hope that we would continue to work on that.
Okay, thank you. Therese?
Yes, I think to echo what Rob and Laura said, we definitely have not addressed all the needs. Cottle definitely is getting what they need, which is wonderful because they are in desperate need of space and classrooms. And certainly we need a new turf field, and our fields are used by our students and the entire community 7 days a week. So we are getting what we need in many ways. We are also not getting things that we also need. And the middle school and high school needs attention. And even though structurally there's work that's going to be done that needs to be done, and it's almost like when you remodel your house and you put $25,000 into the plumbing, you can't see the plumbing, so nobody really likes writing the check to the plumber, except the plumber. But we want to see something for our money. And I think once the community sees what they're going to get for their money at Cottle and sees how the administration is then able to implement current curriculum and STEAM classes and hands-on learning and movement for the children, and things aren't as crammed, I think it'll motivate to support another bond in the future, which is what I think will ultimately be needed to make the significant changes to the middle and high school that they require. And obviously the cafeteria is one, the auditorium, but I think we could also use upgrades even in our own science labs and technology areas in the middle and high school as well.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Thank you. I think that I just have to echo what everybody else said. It sounds like they really covered most of it. So just like anything that you may own, whether that be a property, a vehicle, it doesn't make a difference. It's going to consistently need care and work and upkeep in order for you to be able to keep it in a condition where you can use it and it can be valuable to you. So yes, we could always do more. I think that that's an excellent first step. I'm glad that those steps have been taken. And we will need to do more. Science labs was one of the things I was going to say. I mean, those are things that are always changing, and we need to be able to make sure our students have that and access to technology. As technology shifts and changes, there will be more needs, as there already are more needs that we would need to address moving forward, yes.
Okay, would anybody like to add to that?
Just quickly, I'd like to add, I think the ladies mentioned it, this project basically took care of the necessities. But I think, just like I think everybody here in the district, we want to not just be ordinary. And I think in order for us to be great or to be better, we need to have more change. And that's going to mean a project that has some of the desires and things that we want, and not just the necessities. So hopefully, as I mentioned, this one will go well. We'll gain the trust of the community, and we'll be able to have something that has a little more ambition down the road.
Okay, thank you. Laura, would you like to add something?
Just one thing that in paying attention to that whole process and watching the board meetings throughout and listening to what they were proposing, one of the things that I would say as a board member that I did observe is that what I did see, people showing up and talking about what they wanted, the board sort of still pushed ahead, even though I think they were getting the message that you're doing a lot here. You know, let's kind of stick with the first one and get the needs. But I think that the mistake that was made was that, you know, they really just went with too much too quickly. And I think that they learned from that, but it's just unfortunate because I think Prop 1 would have passed.
Okay, thank you. Therese?
Yes, I'm sorry. I would just also like to add that I think part of the initial bond, the first proposition, and the House also failing, has to again go back to perception and communication with the community. And I think that we're talking about gaining trust of the community, and that's very important, and that comes with strong, not only Board of Education, but strong leadership and people believing in the leadership in the board and the school district. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Donna, would you like to add something? Okay, very good. This is question 7. We have 2 questions left. We're going to start with you, Laura. Do you commit to work with the current administration to support the district's capital improvement project and the new strategic goals? Please explain.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Do you commit to work with the current administration to support the district's capital improvement project and the new strategic goals? Please explain.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, to absolutely would work with the administration. The current administration had a updated of the strategic goals. So there's 4 main goals, and they did a great job as far as they hired a consultant who went out and they did the survey, and they have brought all that information from all the stakeholders, and they put 4 main pieces together. And I think that the key right now with those 4 pieces, and one is social emotional, which I think is so important with mental health issues and getting involved in updating policy for that. I think the important thing with the 4 strategic goals is that we talk a lot about plans and about ideas and strategic goals, and we did one back in 2012 and 2013 with Dr. Wilson, and it was very well done. It was very well laid out. I think that as a board member, what I would do is make sure that the accountability in that strategic plan, that it's really followed through. So by that I mean, say we're talking about social emotional, what does that mean? What are we going to implement? And that those implementations throughout the district, throughout our faculty, that they're regularly met with, and we report back to them, and they report back to us. I think it's healthy to bring principals and superintendent, to the superintendent, the principals, the administrators, into the Board of Ed meetings and report to us on how they're doing with that strategic plan. I think it's very exciting, and I think we have some great ideas, but I think that the follow-through is something that I would work on and just make sure that the accountability is there and that we are actually implementing all of the 4 strategic goals.
Okay, thank you. Therese, that's to you.
Can you just repeat it
Sure.
one more time?
Do you commit to work with the current administration to support the district's capital improvement project and the new strategic goals? Please explain.
I think that to be on the Board of Education, you have to have a strong commitment to the administration, to the strategic goals, and to the vision of the school and moving it forward into the future in a positive way. I'm very committed to doing that and to making sure that the goals are met and that people are following through with what they're supposed to be doing and held accountable for their responsibility in the district meeting their goals. I think that part of setting up policy is making sure that the policy is then followed through, like I said, in ethical and moral ways, and that the 4 strategic goals that are on the table go beyond the social and emotional learning, the diverse learners, and making sure that we're providing them the right environments, the contemporary teaching and learning, and the professional learning. And I think the professional learning is something that is incredibly important, that we work towards recruitment, that we train teachers well, and that we retain our teachers, especially our good teachers. And I would love to see Tuckahoe become a district that everybody wants to work in and wants to, have their, not just start their career, end their career, and have their entire career here. Because when I was at the school, we had teachers who were here for decades and who made a huge impression on my life, and I know we have them now, and I would like us to be able to continue to recruit and retain that type of talent.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
And I'm going to ask you to say it one more time.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
I've memorized this question.
I know.
No. Do you commit to work with the current administration to support the district's capital improvement project and the new strategic goals? Please explain.
So I agree with what those who spoke before me had said. If you were throwing your hat in, I think that already is, I think you'd have to be willing to commit, because it would be kind of crazy to come on here and think that you're going to go against that at that moment. But yes, so I would commit to doing that. That is part of the reason why I actually chose to throw my hat in, per se, to the role for trustee for the board. I really love the direction and the steps that the district has taken. I love that that there was an open forum, that a lot of people were invited to participate in the planning and the conversations, that it included 2 days full of work as far as building some of that information, that the needs assessment was done, that the gathering of information from a variety of sources was done. And even with all that, you know that you can still hear some people say, well, I don't think this was represented, but I think it was a really good representation of the majority of what the community who chose to participate in responding actually really wanted to focus on. So yes, I would be very committed in whatever way that I could be as trustee for the board, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Robert?
Yes, so absolutely for me. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm certainly running for re-election is because I'd like to see this through. I was part of the facilities committee, which was 30 to 40 individuals from the community who met a handful of times in the library to talk about all different ideas about what we could possibly do with a capital project. And that, I think that's why it was so ambitious, because we had so much feedback. And on the strategic plan, I was on that team that met for 2 days. The energy that was in that room for those 2 days with the people who participated actually made me think I should have got into education for a living. It was powerful. The parents who were involved, the teachers, the administrators, Ms. Wilson, it was fantastic. And I think that we wouldn't have been able to put that plan together if it wasn't for the plan that happened before, that Dr. Wilson ran. And I think the prior board, the administration, and the leaders at the time deserve credit for creating the foundation to allow us to put this plan together. And this plan, and I'm not in education as a profession, but I think this plan addresses really what's going to make our school fantastic. It's about curriculum, professional development. It's about our students. It's how to become 21st century learners even. I think as parents, we acknowledge that our children kind of live with computers and handheld devices, and I think it's absolutely necessary that we start to teach them how to use those devices in their professional careers. So I am 100% behind this, and I'm running for that reason, because I want to see the current team put that in place and see how it looks 4 years from now.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to add something? Laura, would you like to add something?
I just wanted to add, one of the strategic goals is diverse learners, so that really the purpose or the point behind that goal is to meet the diverse needs of all the learners, right? Improve all student outcomes. And one of the things that I feel strongly about is having some kind of occupational education in our school. So as a board member, it's one of the things that we would discuss and try to incorporate back. We used to have it. They took it away. They have some discussions this past budget. But I really do think that if you're going to address all learners, you need to be able to address those children that may not necessarily be test takers and people who are going to achieve in college.
Thank you very much. Therese, would you like to add something?
Yes, I would actually. Just to follow up on what Laura just said, I think the diverse learner part of the strategic goals is incredibly important, because like I said earlier, we do a very good job with offering AP classes and advanced academic courses, but I think that offering in our course load courses that would be more practical for kids who maybe are not going or don't want to go on to becoming a doctor or a lawyer and run their own business would be incredibly useful and invaluable.
Thank you. Donna, would you like to add something?
Yes, so I would like to echo what Laura and Therese just said, and that really is, I spoke a couple weeks ago about occupational education for secondary students, being able to have diverse learners meet all students' needs. So just to expand, there's so many different areas in which we can do that. I just want to make sure that I was able to mention that we really need to think broadly when we're having that conversation.
And very good. Robert?
Just to add, I think it's important that the community realizes that it's going to take patience. The strategic plan are very strong initiatives, and they don't just happen overnight. There's professional development that has to occur. There's curriculum that slowly has to be introduced to the students. So that's going to take time, and I think we need to be patient. And in order to execute that, I think it's important that our leadership, there's some stability there, and the people who are currently in place have the opportunity to see this plan through so it could be successful.
Okay, very good. This is the last question. Starts with you, Therese.
Okay.
Given Tuckahoe is such a small district, how will you balance your decisions between influence from personal relationships versus the best interests of the district overall? Would you like me to read it again?
Okay. I don't need to write it down.
Okay.
I'm the first one to go.
There you go.
I think that when you're doing the right thing for all the children, not just for your own kids, and you're not looking out for your own interests or your children's interests, it's very easy to separate your personal relationships or your personal decisions, because you're doing something for the greater good, and that's your driving force. So if you're not looking to promote something that's just for your own benefit or the benefit of your children, you really don't need to differentiate it, because you're doing the right thing for all the children and for the entire community. And I think that people that know you well know that that's what you're there for, and maybe you're not making the most popular decision, but it's the right decision, and ultimately people will respect it, so it won't affect your personal relationships.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
That's actually probably one of the easiest questions I think that people asked all night for me, because it's what I've always known how to do. I mean, what is your why is really one of the biggest things that I ask when any decision has to be made, is what is the why? Why do we want this? Who wants this? What's going on here? where's the purpose, what's my feelings about it. I'm really good at being able to remove myself from that and look and see, who is this impacting? What is the reason why we're having this conversation? How did it get here? And if I'm resistant or for it, what is that about? So when you're able to look at it from each perspective, it's very simple and easy to do, and being able to make decisions that impact the whole is really important, even if it's not necessarily what it is that you would desire or would impact you in the way that you would like. So I think my history would speak for itself in that way for anyone who knows me. And again, what is your why is one of the biggest things that keep me focused there.
Okay, thank you. Robert?
Yeah, I agree with Donna. This one's an easy one for me. Certainly, I've never let my personal relationships involve the decisions I've made in any of the organizations that I've been part of. And I think anybody who knows me is aware of that. I think it's pretty simple. If you can get up in the morning and look in the mirror and know that you've done your best for everyone, and that's what your role is as a board member, it's not really that difficult. But I tell you what is difficult is when you are a board member and you have those decisions and those influences that are out there. And that's hard to fight sometimes. Those personal relationships that you have when you're sitting there in executive session or when you have to make decisions that are going to affect a lot of students, it's not easy. So although your moral compass, it's easy, you have decisions that are affecting a lot of people. And there's a lot of information that goes into a lot of those decisions. So for me, it's not difficult. I think if you have honor, integrity, you make the right decision that's in the best interest of all the students all the time. And at times you have to take into account the community members, which is what happened with the bond, right? I think that's exactly what happened. I fully supported a larger project, and I was wrong. But I compromised and realized we had to do what the community wanted. So I think that's important. So I think having integrity, not letting outside influences change how you feel, even if maybe not in your own children's best interest, you just do what's right for the greater good of all.
Okay, very good. Laura?
Yes, thank you. I think being, obviously, having served on the board, but just listening to Rob and being involved over the years, it's hard. And I think that the common maybe misconception is that there is an agenda, right? So why is he running for the board? I can tell you I would not do this, sit up here and put the work that I've put into in the research and talking to people for my walking tour. It just in going through campaigning, if you will, or just preparing for this, it's tremendous. It's a tremendous amount of people. They have something to say. They want to communicate. And so personal interests, personal relationships, I mean, I've spent my 16 years and whatever, I've been involved in the district and helping parents, whether that's a parent member and volunteering. And so I don't have a problem with, worrying about personal relationships and then interfering. I would say that, the ethics and the moral compass and all those things, they're so important. I think when you serve on the board, and that's your priority. That's certainly what I would do. I think when you're on multiple boards, perhaps, that can give a somewhat of a questionable, if you might have a conflict of interest, if whose interest are you thinking about. But I do think that it's a hard job, and people who have come before us, and certainly the board members now, they work hard to make sure that they do what's right for the students. And as I said, personal relationships and agendas and not doing what's right for everyone and doing what's right for your own personal interest has no place on the board, and that's certainly not an issue for me.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to add to that? You have 30 seconds if you'd like. Go ahead, Therese.
I wanted to also say, I think that putting ourselves out, all four of us, when you put yourself in the public eye, you're opening yourself up to some degree of scrutiny. And it takes a lot of dedication to your community and wanting to do for the better and make things better. And not that it's not good, but everybody can always be better. And I think that it's very easy to have something misconstrued to the public eye when there isn't great communication.
Okay, thank you. Donna, would you like to add something? Robert? and Laura. Okay, very good. That's all the questions. So we have now closing statements. We're going to go in the same order: Therese, Donna, Robert, and Laura. And you have 1 minute for a closing statement. There's no rebuttals or anything. It's just your closing statement.
You're making me so nervous.
Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
Wait, let me take a breath.
Okay.
I have to talk really fast. No, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank everybody who's going to vote on May 21st, because it's incredibly important. I think that Tuckahoe, when I was there in the 80s and early 90s, it was a great place. It still is a great place, and it can be an even better place. When I was there, our valedictorians went to Princeton and Yale and Dartmouth. I would love to see some Ivy Leagues come back into the college acceptance for our kids to know that they can achieve that level. I also think that it's an honor to serve the community. I've been on the task board for many years. My children do not use task. People have always questioned why I'm doing it. I believe in the task program. I think it serves a lot of kids and does a lot of good. So I donate my time for that, and I want to donate my time on a grander level, which is why I'm running for the Board of Education.
Okay, thank you. Donna, you have a minute.
Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for listening, for those of you who are going to take the time to vote and to listen to all of this information, for being involved in your community. I wanted to take a moment to just say I am new to Tuckahoe, which is why some of you may not know me, meaning I've only been here this is going on my 4th year now. So that gives me a wee bit of an advantage in some way. There's a lot of conversations about history and divisions that have occurred and specific perspectives. So sometimes a new, fresh perspective for someone who's known education systems from all over the country and worked with schools might be a great addition. I am sitting here with people who are very dedicated to the community. I feel very dedicated and connected to Tuckahoe, and I would love to use my skills to be a contribution to the community moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Robert, go ahead.
In closing, I would just like to thank the PTA and the League of Women Voters once again. I'd also like to thank you ladies for sitting up here tonight, Therese, Donna, Laura, for participating in the Q&A. I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in and who showed up tonight. I think you've heard me over the last few months talk about people being involved. We need to be involved. There's a lot going on in the district, and we need people to show up and speak their mind and to help us make the right decisions for our children. So thank you for everyone for there. In regards to why I'm running for re-election, I mentioned it earlier, I just want to see through what I've been a part of since I came on the board. It's extremely important to me to see Tuckahoe go to the next level and be part of what makes it different. So I look forward to what happens, regardless if I am elected or not, but I hope I am, and if I am, I can assure you that I will continue to control myself and operate the way I have over the last 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Laura, go right ahead.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. For those of you who are sitting in the audience, and I'm sure thank you for everyone at home that's watching. This has been it's been a great conversation. It's been insightful. It's been something that I think many of the community is looking for. Thoughtful ideas, people who want to serve and bring their individual experiences and records and whatever it is that they have to offer and give it 100%. We have a great community. I love Tuckahoe. I think we have wonderful families. And if I'm given the privilege to serve on the board, I'll work hard to see that every student is given the opportunity to reach his or her full potential. I want to thank you for all the, on the walking tour that I like to call, all the conversations that I've had, all the support, and I would say that Tuckahoe is going in a great direction. We have wonderful ideas, and I'm excited about the future, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That wraps up the forum. Thanks for your participation. Public service is not always easy, so we should thank these people for getting up here. That's not an easy thing to do. Thank you very much. Vote on Tuesday, May 21st, and thanks to the PTA here of Tuckahoe for sponsoring this event. Good night, everyone.